Hello. Good afternoon. Marine Sky, I'm coming at you. That's right. You, my viewer, you, my subscriber, welcome. If you're new here, welcome. I'm glad to have you. It's a beautiful, beautiful day here in New England, Massachusetts. I'm sitting in a parking lot of the back end of a ball field. It's a ball field where my son played at, my grandson played at, and several other people I know have played at this field. And it's just an iconic, it's in back of the Luntz silversmith building that, was Luntz where they made the silver years ago. That's no longer in existence, but that's kind of where I'm at. It's a spot in Greenfield I used to like to come to every day for my lunch. I had an hour for lunch from my clerical job at the high school, and I would come here, grab a sandwich, probably like at McDonald's or something, something to eat, and I would park here or the street over there. And so it just seems kind of fitting that I would come back to this spot now and then for a quiet little refuge from my now day-to-day routine. Think about a topic. It's a little more work in that regard, and yet there's always something to talk about, right? And even if it's just, talking about, something you ate today or something, I guess there's always something to talk about. But today, I'm trying to make my videos somewhat interesting topics, and then I got thinking, oh, all right, well, I used to journal daily, and so I have many journals in my stash at home. And I got thinking, and it was just by chance, just by cleaning out my house with another girl who comes to help me, that, a small journal, this journal, was in my underwear drawer. But anyway, I have them kind of planted all around the house and this and that, and I got thinking, oh my goodness, what a good topic for a video in regard to, do you journal? Do you journal? Journaling is fun, people, and interesting, because I have pretty much, now I say that, I have pretty much journaled my life over the years, starting with a young woman in my marriage. And, I married at age 20, so I probably started journaling, let's say, 7 or 8 years into my marriage. I started picking up a journal and writing things down, something like that. And I'm now 73, like I talk about, so you can imagine I've got a few journals lying around. And I would try to at least journal every few days or something like that. And then sometimes I'd take a break from it, and it might be, or life just happened, and it might be months before I got back to it. But I would always, put a date on it and, try to journal in that regard. Now, when I was single, I did a lot more journaling. And at one point, I found myself living in a one-room apartment over in Northfield, Massachusetts, after divorcing my husband, ex-husband of 28 years. And he is also the father of my 2 children. And when I left that marriage, and I was only 48 when I did that. So then I went on my own for about 8 years. And in the midst of those 8 years, I found myself journaling a lot more. And I was broke. I didn't have much to, go on as far as an income, but I managed overall to, maintain my bills and that. But it got hard at times. And then I took on a little part-time job too, and that's actually how I met Eddie and that. So anyway, journaling kind of carried me through, more so through those single years. I found I took to my journal more during that time. And I also took to following The Secret, the CD that's out there, and there was the movie that was put out there where it's all in the law of attraction and where thoughts become things. Well, at one point, living in my one-room apartment over in Northfield next to the fire station, and it's an old historical building, and they actually call it the Beehive. Well, I lived in a one-room apartment in this building, and where was I going with that? And like I said, I found myself journaling a lot more, and that's where I also took up the second job of working at a little general store in town. And that's my husband, who's my now husband, walked in one day to buy some lottery tickets, and he met me there, and from there we, exchanged numbers, and then started going out for coffee and little visits, and then, long story short, here we are, right? But so in journaling, and thoughts become things, I found myself also, one of the bills I had a hard time paying was the cable TV bill. So I kind of let that one slide. It wasn't as important as the rent and my food, I guess. So what I did was, when they shut me off from the cable TV, I said, the heck with that. I've got a DVD player at least, and I've got electricity. I'll go up to the library, which was nearby. I would walk there, beautiful stone, old, historical building, and I enjoyed that library. I would read the paper there, so I wouldn't have to buy one, and got caught up on the news that way. And I would pick out a good book or two, and I'd spent a lot of hours at that library. And I would use the computer, whatever, and read good books and stuff. And I also would pick up, DVDs to bring home and watch on my DVD player. And that's where I picked up the DVD, The Secret. And I started really following The Secret. I watched that DVD so much that it's a wonder I don't have burn marks in that DVD. But I watched it so much and believed in it and followed it so much that, I wrote about it in my journals and that. And I also knew it by heart, almost word for word, screen for screen. I watched it on the daily. So I've got those thoughts going in my mind, and, journaling and everything. The law of attraction, thoughts become things. Write down what it is you want. Make a vision board. I did all those things. And honest to God, I wrote down that, and I'll have to find the journal that it's in. I haven't researched that, but I wrote down one day that I would like to meet an older man, someone, a little bit older than me, or a good man. If it was younger, that would be okay too. We'd work with that. But anyway, I'd like to meet a nice man who had similar interests. I liked tag sales and flea markets and auctions and antique things, and I loved thrifting, and I wanted to meet somebody with those interests. I would like to still live in Bernardston, because in my growing up years, there was a couple of years where we lived in the town of Bernardston just before my parents divorced. So I always loved the town of Bernardston. So I wrote that down. I'd like to live in Bernardston. I wrote down that, if this person had those same interests, it would be great. Maybe if they had some property, maybe a big barn on their property would be so cool, because I could really go to town. I was really into gourd art, my gourds, and I could store them in a barn, and I could really go to town, because I would drill them and cut them and, do wood burning on them. And I was really getting into it, making bird houses and stuff. So I wrote that down, burn on the, in all of that, I think that same day I was watching some DVDs that my niece had just given me as a birthday gift, and it was Oprah's series. She had one with like 6 or 7 discs in it. I think it was one of her birthday issues or something, but she gave me the whole series and I loved it. So along with The Secret, I would play Oprah's, I knew those all by heart too, where she interviewed JFK and she interviewed these people who, a panel of people who created the movie and the lady who wrote the book on The Secret. And when this is where she interviewed a couple of other famous people. But anyway, it's a good series, and I have it still, and I refer to that a lot because I really enjoyed that. But she was interviewing Dolly Parton in one of them. And I love her too, and I love Oprah. So I enjoyed all of those things during this time where I didn't have a TV. And when she interviewed Dolly Parton, Dolly mentioned Dollywood and was talking all about Dollywood and Searville and where she grew up and everything. And I remember writing down, I would love to have, go to Dollywood someday and blah, blah, blah. Never thinking that that was really going to happen, but I wrote it down anyway. Well, I kid you not. Taking that little job in Northfield, a second job in a little general country store, and there was lottery machine and cash register, and I didn't know what I was doing, but I worked my darndest to, and you're there alone at night and everything, but Eddie came in, left his number, so I end up meeting the man that I write about, Eddie. He knows all about antiques, nice, kind man, has a lot of my same interests. Really intrigued me with his stories and his kindness and his gentle heart. Had property in Bernardston, big red barn out back. I wrote this all down, people. And the next year after I married him, he buys a motor home, and we end up at Dollywood in Tennessee, or Kentucky, wherever it is, Tennessee. Yeah, at Dollywood, her park, her theme park. We actually got to walk up into her mobile home that she would use to travel in for her gigs. The first one that she retired it, and then they put it in Dollywood, and they let people, you pay your ticket and you go up in there, and you get to actually walk amongst her wigs and her things and her bedroom, and right there, the dishes she uses, you get to sit. You're in her motorhome, and that was cool. And I've got, memorabilia and pictures of all that. But what I wanted to get at is, journaling and everything carried me. I can tell, and it's funny to go back and look to where your mind was at. Sometimes good, sometimes not so good, and, well, here we go. Here is July 22nd of 2008, and I think I had just met Eddie during this time. So, well, let's see what this page that I just turned to reads to me. Well, journal, today is Tuesday, and I have to work my PT job, part-time job today at the Northfield Food Mart. This little job is working out good for me and want it to continue. Must tell you that I had one of the nicest days on Sunday at Lake Wyola with a fella that I had met through one of those dating services. That didn't really pan out. So it's funny. I'm not going to continue that part, but we talked and swam and stayed at the lake for several hours. I absolutely loved my day. And I think he did too. All right, so here we go. This is 8/12/2008. Now this is getting near the time I met Eddie, or I had already just met him. Not entirely sure. Oh, no, I met him a little bit after that. Okay, so I hadn't quite met him yet. It's a Tuesday morning, and I am up early. Can't sleep. And in the summer, I didn't have to work at my day job. I just had the little part-time job, I believe, because I got the summers off. And I have a lot on my mind, busy stuff going on. Ryan and Cassie are getting married. This was actually his second wife. That didn't work out, but anyway, I remember this now, and I'm happy for them. The Bonner, that's my mother's maiden name, family reunion that I helped plan a little bit with one of my other cousins is on Sunday in Swansea. It's at my cousin, at the time, cousin Claudette's home. She has since passed. It was a lovely gathering, though. Then the following Sunday, a baby shower for my niece, Nikki. Oh, my goodness. And she had a little girl, and that girl is now, I don't know, 15 or 16 now. 16, I think. Oh, my goodness. Time flies. I talked with my daughter Gina last night. She was needing to talk and vent. Very emotional, as she had looks like walked out on her job today with the program in Oklahoma. We talked for quite a while, and I know she felt better when we said goodbye. I told her it was probably meant to happen. The change will be a positive one. I just know it, and it was. Sometimes, sometimes you can only take so much in this world, and then you got to say bye-bye to things. And for me, I was not one for change for many, many years. I wasn't. I liked my little 8-minute ride to work. I liked everything, And yet when I finally embraced change and went for it, it was the best thing I ever did. Don't be afraid of change, people. Worked last night at the IGA store, and I need to work tonight. boy, I wrote some stuff. But anyway, what I'm getting at is the alarm in the building where I lived. There was an alarm in that building because I was in that one-room apartment, but there was like 11 apartments total in that whole old house. And the alarm, I remember this, somebody had set the alarm off by, I think they were burning a candle. We all had to stand outside our doors in our jammies, but nothing was found. I remember that vaguely. Isn't that a riot? But anyway, what I'm getting at is journal, people, and then you'll see your growth. You'll see where your head was at. Some things you're going to look and write and say, why did I ever write that? And other things will say, oh my God, I was so grateful. Yeah. Yeah. And people I met. The 5 things I am grateful for. This is, trying to look at the date. Early 08, like February 08. 5 things I am grateful for today. My comfortable day bed. See, I was still sleeping, and I was in that one-room apartment. A decent night's sleep. My car starting this morning with no problems. Pork chop supper at my niece's house. My family and friends. Yeah. Some note that was left in my door, and I was concerned about it. It didn't make sense to me. I remember that. I was getting strange notes there for a while. Yeah. I am reading Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert, and I love it. See, probably a book I got at the library. But anyway, I won't bore you any longer, but I mean, and it also reminds me that, because I've been so busy with Eddie and everything, and I gotta get back to him, by the way, that I haven't journaled in a long time, but it makes me want to go buy a nice new journal and start journaling again, because over the years I did quite a bit, and they're all different sizes. I've got them this size, a little bit bigger. A nice journal makes a nice gift for somebody too, and a nice pen. If you're thinking about what to buy somebody that's got everything but you don't know, and they like to write, or even if they don't, buy them a journal and a nice pretty pen. They'd love that. Or if it's a guy, a nice masculine pen. But yeah, journaling. So, something to talk about, something to reflect on, and it's a good habit to get into. It also is good to sometimes to just write your thoughts down, and like I said, it takes you places, and then when you look back, you're amazed. You really do see where life gives you messages. Writing can be very relaxing. It can relieve you of stress. There's a lot to it. There's a lot more than just, you'll see. You got to just do it, dive into it, and you'll see what it does for you. Think about that one, folks. I have to go. Get back home, get him a few things at the store, buy some more juice and stuff for us to drink so we have beverages, and say goodbye. This has been fun. It's always fun. I love you. And like I said, until we meet again. like I always say, until we meet again, I certainly hope the universe provides. I truly do. Thank you now. And if you're so inclined and you've got a moment or two, like, share, but most importantly, comment. I love your comments, and I love to know where you're from. It's so fun. I love it. Thank you now. Bye-bye.